Hello, I'm Megan Murphy, and I am playwright, and I am starring as the Shanachie in the fourth line production of Wild Irish Geese.
This is the story of 2,000 starving and wretched dreamers who set off from the west coast of Ireland in search of their own little patch of Tír na nÓg. This is the legend of the Wild Irish Geese.
Irish were often, in the 1600s and even before, were hired as mercenary fighters for other people's wars. And so those Irish that would leave to fight were called the Wild Geese. But then it became sort of a name for anyone that left Ireland as part of the diaspora. And so I liked the idea of the wild goose, that they carry a piece of home with them. And then I got obsessed with looking at what geese mean in Indigenous cultures and in Canada and the spirituality of geese. And they are fierce, they protect each other, and it felt so much like what the Irish community does for each other. So I loved that idea of combining the Irish that leave and the Canadian goose and this kind of combo of the two.
I am M. John Kennedy, and I am playing Peter Robinson.
Oh boy, you're better than that. Wouldn't lie, it's grand, can't you see?
Like many members of the cast, I am also descended from the Robinson settlers. My mother's family came over in 1825 on one of the ships that we mentioned here in the play, and so getting to play Peter Robinson, the person who made it all happen, is a, is a blast. And also he's pretty fun. Meg wrote a really fun script.
Look out there. You see it in your mind's eye? It's a town, bustling people.
I think the specifics of the story, yes, they are specific to a couple of families, but the heartbeat is universal. It is the same story. And we actually did this really great book work where we spent 4 days analyzing the script, and by the end you had one word for the script. And my word was home. And the idea of that, it's where everyone tries to create their home. How do you create a home? What does that mean? Who do you build as a family around that? And I think that feeling, even the audience, I hope, will feel that as well. Because the act of storytelling it's sacred and it doesn't exist without someone to listen. And you, by being in the audience, listen our ancestors into existence again for a little while.
My name is Paul Croak, and I'm playing the role of John Hickey, the patriarch of the Hickey family. I come from Ennismore, which is a small Irish village that were part of the Peter Robinson emigration in 1825, and Meg's script actually, my character, my family, settled in Ennismore. So it's kind of a really cool full circle moment for me, and I know a lot of the Hickeys still to this day in that community. I think the most eye-opening thing for me as a character is just that fierce determination and resiliency for which the Irish are famous. They were a people that went through so much, but were able to always find some type of dark humor in it all. And I think people would be fascinated by the journey itself. I didn't realize until a few years ago going through that this took months of walking and boats and through swamps, and just how discouraged they must have felt at times, that they wanted to give up but knew that there was hope for a better life.
Just getting off the ships was such a relief, but then there was each step of the journey was just such another hard slog, and experiencing weather like they'd never experienced before, arriving here in the heat of the summer, like getting here in June, and the heat of our summer is very different from the summers in Cork, and then of course winter, which is a whole new experience. It's a really great story, but it's also a really fun show. Like it's beautiful and it's moving, it's tragic. There's some moments in it for sure that are absolutely heartbreaking, but there's also a lot of hope and a lot of beauty, and it really is a story about the possibilities of coming to a new place and building a new life, and going from a place where you basically were indentured servants to a landlord, to a place where you actually get to own your own land and everything you grow, and the place is yours. It's your actual home. You're not paying a tithe to somebody to live on land.
I think on the 200th anniversary, and thinking of it as a commemoration of what has happened in this last 200 years, and looking at it again through a different lens as well, I've tried to really engage the Indigenous piece of what was actually happening here, and try to make some peace with that and the complications and the messiness of some of that. through a different lens, but also this community stayed so Irish, and I didn't really understand that. I thought most communities were like that. And then I realized, no, it's not at all. And how did that stay that way? And how are some of these families still on these farms 200 years later? What is that heartbeat? What is in the water? And I love that idea. And I think that community and why this community is so special, I've lived in other places, is partially because of that. There's this sense of we built something, and there is a loyalty to that, and there's a sense of home and memory in that. And I like that idea that we belong somewhere. And it doesn't have to be Irish, it just, that was the beginning of it in my mind for this little section of the story.
Come see